Broadcasting from Manhattan Beach and the World Wide Web, you're listening to CHSR, HealthyLife.net.
As a service to our listeners, this program is for general information and entertainment purposes only. CHSR HealthyLife.net does not recommend, endorse, or object to the views, products, or topics expressed or discussed by show hosts or their guests. We suggest you always consult with your own personal, medical, financial, or legal advisor.
Pretty important in all things in beauty. Welcome to Radio AMB, designed for those who want to live a long and vibrant life. I'm Patty Smucker, and I've been in the beauty industry for the last 40 years. Radio AMB, which stands for American Made Beauty, is where we tell the secrets behind the making of health and beauty products. Our segment sponsor today is AmericanMadeBeauty.com, a beauty platform designed to help consumers find beauty companies that are implementing the industry's best practices to bring you quality products and services. Go to AmericanMadeBeauty.com to find products, and if you're interested, find samples, your own customized free American-Made beauty box. Go to AmericanMadeBeauty.com. You know, in 1946, something we're hearing about more and more in the news was discovered for the first time in Africa. Zika was in the deepest parts of Africa, and although it was carried by mosquitoes, it would not be the insects that created a spread of this across large bodies of water. It began to show up off the islands, off the continent of Africa, as early as the late 70s, according to a recent U.S. News program. And the reason is because of modern travel, where people left Africa infected with Zika and went to other parts of the world. It is true that the virus is transmitted from human to human by the bites of infected female mosquitoes. But here's the way the disease is spreading across the world. The Zika virus can be found in the human body and passed from an infected person to another mosquito through a mosquito bite. But Zika can also be passed through sex from person to person when the sex partner has Zika. So the reason why I'm bringing this up and why we're talking about it today is because now the U.S. government has reported over 1,000 pregnant mothers have been infected with Zika virus in Puerto Rico and the U.S. We now have babies being born into the world with a condition that results from the mother having the Zika virus. And, you know, this is just a really seriously important topic. I'm not a woman that plans to be pregnant in the near future, but I'm sure you have a similar feeling in that you don't want to take the chance of being bitten by a bug that carries a disease and that could potentially harm myself or someone close to you. As someone in the beauty industry and someone who would prefer to use natural alternatives to beauty products as long as they perform, my first inclination is to turn to our industry to find out what's available for bugs and beauty. My guest today, Mr. Doug Schoon of Schoon Scientific, is a returning guest because he's a man I trust to ask this kind of important question to. I don't always see eye to eye with Doug, but one thing is for sure, he knows cosmetic chemistry and the laws that beauty companies are required to follow to help consumers make informed decisions about the beauty purchases that they make. During our feature segment, Doug and I will talk about the definition of cosmetics versus drugs and the current conditions around cosmetics and the claims that they repel bugs. During our middle two segments, we'll review a list of ingredients that are commonly suggested as ingredients to avoid in beauty products and why and what you should be thinking about these ingredients as you shop for products. Finally, in our final segment, we call the Beauty Biz, we'll learn about Doug's newest book and why you want to pick up a copy. So let's get started. For those of you that haven't heard Doug in the past, Doug is with us as he is an internationally recognized scientist, author, and educator with over 30 years' experience in cosmetics, beauty, and the personal care industry. He's a leading authority known for his technical and regulatory work that has helped shape the beauty industry. He runs his own company, Schoon Scientific, as well as co-chair of the National Manufacturer Council on Safety. For almost 20 years, he worked as vice president and chief scientist of Creative Nail Design and R&D Lab, Quality Assurance and Field Testing Evaluation Department, and holds 16 patents for innovative nail products. Doug, welcome. It's great to have you with us today.
Thank you, Patty. Great to be here.
So, Doug, let's start out by telling our audience a little bit about what type of education does an internationally recognized scientist and author and educator with over 30 years of experience in the cosmetic and personal care industry get to start his career?
Well, I actually started off studying chemistry and biology, and especially chemistry of biological things, which I always thought was fascinating. So because I was interested in both fields, I think it was just natural, and end up studying how chemistry can interact with the body, how the body interacts with chemicals, and the like. And of course, being in this industry was a really fun place to end up. I've traveled through and worked in aerospace and academics, but I really have enjoyed working more in the beauty industry. It's been very challenging and rewarding.
And, it's interesting that a lot of people think of chemistry and chemicals, that there's a difference between natural and chemicals. And the reality is that all things, whether they come from natural or botanical sources or not, is made of chemistry. And I find that a fascinating realization that a lot of people think if it's natural, it doesn't have chemicals in it.
Yeah, I think that's a huge misconception. It's usually because whenever the media talks about chemicals, they only do it in a negative way, and they do it talking in a negative fashion, chemical spill or something. They don't think about, chemicals or water is a chemical. Pure, natural essential oils are chemicals, and mother's milk is made of chemicals. So chemicals isn't a bad thing, and unfortunately it's been marketed that way by some. We have to understand that just because something's a chemical doesn't mean it's unsafe. There are unsafe chemicals and there are safe chemicals. We have to learn to understand that and learn to distinguish between them, and of course learn to use all chemicals safely and wisely.
Absolutely. So help us to understand what is the difference then in our industry. One of the big issues is what is a cosmetic and what is a drug, and why is there such a distinctive distinction, and why is this important?
Well, there's a distinction. I'll start with the last one first. There's a distinction because Congress made it so. Really back in World War II era, Congress came up with a Food and Drug Administration and the act that what we follow today for cosmetics. So I think that's really where it all began. But where it's come to now is been an evolution. As all things evolve, the beauty industry certainly has evolved, and it's evolved more toward getting away from just beautifying things into actually having benefits for skin. And when the laws were originally written, of course, there were very few benefits. It was mostly beautification. But now companies have evolved into a benefit scenario, and of course, because of the way the FDA regulations are structured, it can sometimes be viewed as they're crossing over the line into other areas. So there's a bit of contention about that right now, and a lot of misunderstandings going on. But I think it's being sorted out, and eventually will be sorted out.
And so what is the difference then? How does a consumer tell the difference between a cosmetic and a drug?
Well, the basic definition of a cosmetic, you can look this up on the FDA website. It's pretty simple to find. There are articles that are intended for use. There are articles that are intended to be rubbed, poured, sprinkled, or sprayed onto, or introduced into, otherwise applied to the human body. A bunch of ways you could put them on. And then they list specifically for cleansing, beautifying, and promoting attractiveness or altering appearance. So the FDA Act, when it was originally written, was all centered around promoting attractiveness and appearance and cleaning and beautifying. So the law really is kind of stuck there. Whereas, as I said, that drugs have a different definition, and cosmetics are beginning to move closer to the drug definition, which is what's causing a lot of confusion. And drug definitions, they're really specifically designed for the medical field, and they're designed to of course, help in medicine, not just beautification, which they're defined by the FDA as articles that are intended for use in the diagnosis, cure, mitigation, which means stopping or preventing, or treatment, actually dealing with, or treatment or prevention of diseases. And articles other than foods, if they're excluding foods, they're saying any article that can prevent these diseases or any article that can affect the structure or the function of the body is really becomes a drug. And that's what causes a lot of problems. I don't think cosmetics are trying to heal diseases, and shouldn't be. But sometimes they do, in fact, cause changes to the structure and function of the body. And according to the FDA, that can make them drugs. So that's created some confusion or an interface between the drug world and the cosmetic world, and that's why there's a bit of an overlap.
And so to take it to a very simple understanding, when you say structure and function, give us an example of something that is functional, that would be in the cosmetic aisle, but really is a drug.
Well, I think the most obvious one is sunscreen.
Right.
Sunscreens are found in the cosmetic aisle, and we think of them as cosmetic products, but they're actually regulated as drugs. And that's because the FDA in Congress has decided that they shall be regulated as drugs. Not all countries do that. Canada does not. So it's really up to the regulation and where the regulators draw the lines as to what types of ingredients are drugs or cosmetics, or in some cases even both. And that's all going to depend on what their claim functions are. Whatever the manufacturer of the product claims the function of that product to be, well, that's how that product shall be judged. Mm-hmm. So if you're making claims that are for beautification and improving the appearance, you'll be judged as a cosmetic. And if you're making claims that are for healing or preventing diseases, you could very well be making claims that are considered to be medical claims or drug-like claims, medicine claims, and not appropriate for cosmetics.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that really, particularly as we talk about this subject that I brought up at the beginning of the show, this whole thing about Zika, and it's the claims that are so important, and for consumers to be able to understand that there is structure and function, something that can in fact structurally or functionally have a change with the body, legally is considered a drug. And yet, just recently I walked into, a big box retailer, we won't name any names, but here was a woman sampling a skincare brand, and above her head was this 8-foot high poster that said in very clear letters, heals wounds. But I looked at the product and there was no drug fact claim, and I'm going to ask you in a minute to explain that drug fact labeling. But is that legal?
Well, if it's not properly labeled, then no, the product is not appropriate according to the regulations. And every country has their own regulations, and of course the U.S. does as well. I think it's common practice not common practice, I shouldn't say that at all. I think sometimes people will make claims in their marketing materials or on their website that aren't on their labels. And that probably is common practice, but sometimes they over-exaggerate on their marketing and websites, and that's what I would say isn't very common. Most manufacturers and marketers try to stay within what their claims they can prove are. But some people will step outside that from time to time. It's more risky to do that on your label because that becomes broadcasted to the world and everyone can see it. And it's easier to get away with at trade shows and at demonstrations and the like. So I would say that if the claim isn't on the packaging, you might want to ask why. Maybe there's a good reason why. Not all claims will be on all packages. But I think that if someone is saying the product heals, that's a pretty grand claim, and that same claim, if true, should be on the product, and that claim would actually make that product a drug, not a cosmetic.
And so if a consumer sees a product that's making a structure or function claim, protects the skin from sun, repels bugs, and that's another category, and I know that, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but heals a wound, those are all drugs. How does a consumer know by looking at the label that it is in the drug category versus a cosmetic category?
Well, if a product is being sold as a cosmetic, it will have a cosmetic ingredient label on it. That's probably the easiest way, is to look at the label. And if you just see a standard kind of a label you see on all cosmetic, which would be a list of ingredients, usually from highest concentration to lowest concentration, or it might be alphabetized, but typically people go highest concentration, lowest concentration. You see that kind of a label, a bunch of ingredient names separated by commas. Well, that's what cosmetics do. Drugs in a different category. Drugs and products that would repel insects that I see you want to talk about, we will in a moment, but specifically drugs will have what's called a drug fact label on the back, which is specified by the Food and Drug Administration. They say this information shall be on your package. You don't get to choose. In fact, you have to get it approved. And it's a whole different world because that's the interface world between drugs and cosmetics called over-the-counter drugs. They're drugs that have proven themselves to be so safe over long periods of use that the FDA agrees, okay, you can just sell that in retail stores, but you still have to have this kind of drug fact labels on here so people understand what the active ingredient is and its concentration. And, that's spelled out by the FDA what must be on there. So
right.
if you look at your drug products or over-the-counter drugs like sunscreen, you'll see these drug fact labels, and you look at cosmetics, you'll see that those labels are very different. And I think that would be one way of telling. If you don't see the drug fact label, it's not a drug or it's not an over-the-counter drug.
And so let's talk about bug repellents. There's cosmetics out there in the marketplace that are claiming to be bug repellents. Tell us whether A, that's legal, and what a consumer should look for if they're looking for something to protect themselves from insect bites.
Well, like anything, it can be done properly or improperly, and if you do it improperly, it would be illegal. If you do them properly, you're within the realm of the regulations and the law. I think that's what everyone strives to do. When you talk about bug repellents now, you notice when I talked about cosmetics, I didn't say nothing about bug repellents.
Right.
It modifies the structure and function of the body, etc. So bug repellents is a whole new different kind of claim. And it's really not a medicine claim either. It doesn't prevent any diseases. You could say, well, it prevents maybe transmission of Zika or some other mosquito-bound or carried disease, but that's indirectly. So really what we're talking about when it comes to these kind of things is that they're not drugs, they're bug repellents. They repel bugs, and therefore they don't fall under the Food and Drug Administration like something that prevents a disease, directly prevents a disease, an antibiotic would. Instead they fall under the Environmental Protection Agency because mosquitoes are pests, bugs are pests, and anything that repels or kills pests, the Environmental Protection Agency is in charge of mainly. Of course, there's overlap between the FDA, but the EPA takes the lead when it comes to any kind of insecticides or insect repellents. An insecticide would kill the insect, and repellents would simply keep them from landing and hopefully from biting. So there are very specific regulations for both of these, and the EPA requires them to not have a drug fact label like you would see on drugs, but it requires that there would be an active ingredient listed and the percentage of that active ingredient. And if there were inert ingredients, those inert ingredients would be listed on the label as well. And the EPA would assign a number to it called an EPA registration number. So if it's been registered and tested and approved by the EPA, they've looked at testing submitted by the company and agree that this is an effective and safe product, then they'll give it its own special code number called the EPA registration number, and that must be on the packaging as well. Now the only caveat to that would be there are some ingredients that the EPA has recognized as essentially generally safe and used in such low concentrations that they're not concerned. And the EPA does allow some of these naturally occurring ingredients to be used in more natural-based insect repellents. These aren't insecticides, these are insect repellents. or as people call them, bug repellents. And some of these things like citronella and geranium, cedar oil, peppermint oil, soybean oil, and there are others that can be used, and the EPA does not require these specific products to go through testing and to prove that they are effective. They simply allow them to use because they say they're safe. So really the difference between the ones that are tested and have an EPA number is that number ensures you that the product has been tested to specific standards and shown that it is safe and can live up to the claims that it's made, whereas the other products, the exempt products, are really based more on natural remedies and don't require specific testing to be submitted to the EPA, and that testing may or may not have been done. It wouldn't be the same type of testing.
And just such an important aspect here in terms of understanding that if they have that EPA registration number and it's going to be unique to each brand and each product, then it proves that that particular formula has been tested, whereas there are, in fact, natural opportunities or natural options because there are botanicals like geranium, citronella that are grown, that come from nature, and that have the characteristics of repelling, but these are generally regarded as safe, and the EPA does not require that they list them in the same way and get an approval, but it doesn't guarantee that it works. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about being able to discern those two things. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Over here. Here's a secret for a virus-free computer. ESET. They've been a pioneer in the antivirus industry for over 25 years. 25 years of innovative, top-rated antivirus protection. ESET's award-winning security solutions provide a safe online experience for over 100 million home and business computer owners. They are so affordable, fast, and simple to use. So be gone, you blue screen of death. ESET's on my computer. If it's not on yours, visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on ESET now.
Here's the thing about beauty. It's pretty. At AmericanMadeBeauty.com, we're all about the pretty, making it easy for you to find what makes your beauty shine. We have essentially everything you need, and AmericanMadeBeauty.com celebrates brands that were created right here in the U.S. of A. Imagine everything you need from the best hair, skin, and nail products to makeup and even the tools, because it's all about pretty at AmericanMadeBeauty.com. We also think you're pretty important, so visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com. Browse, buy, learn. AmericanMadeBeauty.com. We're looking for a few good American beauty manufacturers who want to increase their brand in an exclusive credentialed category. If you're an American company who has conceived, designed, and bottled brands that are all about pretty, then we're pretty sure we're talking about you. And we're pretty sure you should be on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. This beauty website focuses on entrepreneurs and beauty startups as well as established brands. If it's pretty, we want to see it, and we want to sell it on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. To learn how you can be part of AmericanMadeBeauty.com, visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com now.
What does HealthyLife.net and Amazon.com have in common? Well, they're both available on the Internet. They both give great value. But most important, most of our positive program hosts and guests are accomplished authors, and their books are available from, you got it, Amazon.com. Now, it even gets better than that, because when you're listening on air to a HealthyLife.net host or guest, you can go directly to Amazon.com, and you can order your book while you're still listening to your favorite HealthyLife.net program. So when you hear an author you like, go to the homepage of HealthyLife.net and click on Amazon.com.
Where positive people and radio unite. HealthyLife.net.
Welcome back. You're listening to Radio AMB on HealthyLife.net. This is Patty Smucker, and I'm here today with Doug Schoon from Schoon Scientific, and we're talking about bugs and beauty, understanding the difference between cosmetics and drugs, and in this particular case, today we're talking about bug repellents. So, Doug, we talked in the last segment about the fact that bug repellents are, in fact, controlled by not the FDA, but the EPA, say, and that if it is that there are certain ingredients that are naturally occurring in nature that are being used in bug repellents and are generally considered safe. And when we left off, I asked the question, if it's generally considered safe, and a brand does not have to register that product, does it also mean that is there any way of testing whether or not it's effective?
Well, the consumer can test, of course, for effectiveness and should. But the reason these ingredients are chosen is because they're considered to be effective and found to be effective in the past. And that's how they end up being used. So I don't think there's a matter of effectiveness, but different brands may have different concentrations. And, of course, concentration can be a key determinant factor on effectiveness. So I think ultimately the consumer wants to be, watching the claims that are made themselves and judging the product and see if the product does live up to the claims.
Yeah, so you have to try it, and there are a number of nice alternatives in the market today. So try them, but the main thing is to be protected. Now, the consumer, we're constantly hearing in the marketplace about this concern for safety and things like that. I recently got an email listing the 10 toxic cosmetic ingredients to ditch, and it's a email that talks about a variety of different types of ingredients. This is a complicated topic, but let's first of all talk about validity of the claims that these ingredients are harmful. I know, Doug, I had sent you some of this information. Tell us a little bit about the validity that things like phthalates, sulfates, parabens, phenoxylenol, formaldehyde, BHA, BHT, coal tar dyes, petroleum. Are these in fact ingredients that aren't safe to be used in cosmetics?
What this all really boils down to is how you view things. There are people who think that any level of something is dangerous no matter how it's used. And there are other people who take a different view. They'll say, well, wait, it depends on how it's used and what the concentration is, whether or not the product is safe. And when you look in the scientific literature, you see the same kind of scientific testing being done. You see some scientific testing that's isolated and shows that maybe this product this ingredient has this problem, but you look at the bulk of the testing and you see that the bulk of testing says that it's safe. Well, some people will look at that one study and say, but that study says, whereas someone else will tend to look at the bulk of the science and say, well, the bulk of the science, well, most of the science says it's safe, so do we go by one study? So that's really where the divide happens between these. I think the most radical of people take the opinion there's no safe level of anything that's toxic. Well, that's really kind of foolish. Everything has a safe level, no matter what it is. So now the real question really should be about whether or not these ingredients are used in an unsafe fashion or whether they're found in unsafe levels, not whether they're there just at all. Because if you just say, if it's there at all, it's bad, you're just demonizing the chemical, and you're not really looking at the facts. Really what people ought to do and what scientists and the people on both sides of the equation ought to be looking at is what are the facts? What do the facts say, not what are the fears and what do we think about things? But unfortunately, the media capitalizes more on the fears, and the facts kind of get pushed aside.
And why are there organizations that spend time trying to do just that?
Do which?
Put facts aside and rehash deception and put out information that scares people.
It's huge money-making business. Mm-hmm. Oh, my gosh, are you kidding? They make millions and millions of dollars just by frightening people. Send out frightening emails and say, oh, my gosh, this thing is in your whatever, and it's there and it's going to kill people. Hey, only we can save you. Give us your donations. Oh, they rake in huge amounts of money. So it's extraordinarily lucrative. That's why they do it. They can't run on no cash. So they're running a big business, and some are running as the 501c and don't pay taxes. So there's a wide range of them, and I don't think all of them are problems. I don't think anyone who has a contrary opinion is necessarily wrong or a problem. But when you take a contrary opinion simply to frighten people and nothing else, That's where I have a problem with, because I think we should be coming with solutions and looking at facts, not just popping up fear left and right and asking for donations.
Right. And, it's interesting because, again, as I say, I've talked often in the show, I come to the industry with definitely a preference for natural and organic from the time that I was a young mother. I made my own baby food and that type of thing. But I want product to work. And the rise of these organizations that have felt that they've needed to look out for consumers, has our industry contributed to that problem?
Well, I think yes. I think because our industry is much about beauty and presentation and the puffery and exaggeration and making things seem wonderful and great, that we kind of got off track a little bit, or off balance, I should say, by not focusing on the science and technology and the safety aspects of things, and how much safety testing goes into these products to ensure they're safe, and that people just don't pull off ingredients and throw them together and say, here, a lot of time and effort goes into ensuring cosmetics are safe. So our industry kind of brushes that aside and focuses more on the fun side of it, which I get, of course, it sells. But I think that's done us a disservice because the consumer hasn't really understood all the technology and science and quality, attention to quality that goes into cosmetic products to ensure they are safe.
And I think as we've seen this evolution, I was at the forefront of several different, what was in the 80s called natural, and we didn't so much use the word organic back then, but we we began making some claims about things being better than the alternative, perhaps earlier than those claims could be substantiated. So when we come back, Doug, let's talk a little bit about how those good intentions sort of led us down this pathway for all of this, what you call puffery, and making things look better than they really are. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Here's the thing about beauty. It's pretty. At AmericanMadeBeauty.com, we're all about the pretty, making it easy for you to find what makes your beauty shine. We have essentially everything you need, and AmericanMadeBeauty.com celebrates brands that were created right here in the U.S. of A. Imagine everything you need from the best hair, skin, and nail products to makeup and even the tools, because it's all about pretty at AmericanMadeBeauty.com. We also think you're pretty important, so visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com. Browse, buy, learn. AmericanMadeBeauty.com.
For all your live or pre-recorded webcasting needs, come to earthchannel.com. Get your web-based message out to a select group or the whole world. It's easy. A pioneer in webcasting, earthchannel.com provides the best products and services to big corporations and government users. And now this same technology is available to you. They have the best Earthcast encoders, servers, and products to meet your technical needs. But wait, don't want to mess with technical stress? No problem. They'll do it for you. EarthChannel.com is your answer. You can use webcasting for lots of things like advertising, marketing, customer support, training, and don't forget web radio and TV. In fact, you're listening to a live Earthcast right now. So come to EarthChannel.com. Actualize your audio or video webcasting needs today. You can't beat the friendly service or the price. Call EarthChannel.com at 1-800-849-8978. That's 1-800-849-8978.
We're looking for a few good American beauty manufacturers who want to increase their brand in an exclusive credentialed category. If you're an American company who has conceived, designed, and bottled brands that are all about pretty, then we're pretty sure we're talking about you. And we're pretty sure you should be on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. This beauty website focuses on entrepreneurs and beauty startups as well as established brands. If it's pretty, we want to see it, and we want to sell it on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. To learn how you can be part of AmericanMadeBeauty.com, visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com now.
When you're looking for bedding, department store prices can shock you. We'll be shocked no more. Sell steak cheap, not cheap steak. That's the motto of Anna's Linens. Although they don't sell steak, they do sell the best bedding, bath, and home decor items. They strive to provide their merchandise at extreme value to their customers, and they do it. Great everyday prices on everything and military discounts. Plus, if you visit them online, they have clearance items and internet specials. Visit them online now at HealthyLife.net's advertiser page.
Radio your way. HealthyLife.net.
You're listening to Radio AMB on HealthyLife.net. I'm Patty Smucker, and I'm here with Doug Schoon from Schoon Scientific, and we're talking about cosmetics and the legal claims that cosmetic companies can make. Doug, we were talking about the natural and organics environment that started really in the 70s and in the 80s that really became mainstream, and there were a lot of claims that were being made that were hard to substantiate. Do you think has that played a role in things being not based on facts and on the science?
I think so, but I can't certainly blame the organic movement for that. I think that's been part of cosmetic marketing forever. But I do believe that when the natural and organic movement started, there wasn't much to say. There wasn't much science to talk about, and I think that there are sometimes claims were exaggerated. Of course, that happens in the industry. We have to understand this is the beauty industry, and exaggeration, there's nothing wrong with that. I bet that happens in every industry. But when we cross over the line of deception, that's a problem. Especially when we're intending to deceive, that's another problem. And I think, unfortunately, that's kind of where some have evolved in this space. They've evolved into marketing positions where they actually intend to deceive, where they know that the consumers were afraid of the word chemical, so they sell chemical-free products when there is no such thing as a chemical-free product. So I think, unfortunately, there are good actors and bad actors, again, in every industry, and we have them in this industry, but some of them, I think, have undermined the organic and natural movement by making claims that go beyond puffery and into crossing the line into deception.
Right. And so, I mean, and I had the opportunity to be at the forefront and also being in a situation where being able to actually be involved in developing product, there is great innovation that has taken place, and as a result of the desire to make cleaner, healthier product, there's been an interest in innovation. But how do we guide consumers to stay informed about choosing safe products that are also effective? What do you say to consumers to help them make those informed decisions?
Well, I think you're absolutely right, Patty. I think what this has all ended up in is innovation. You know, consumers drive innovation, and if they want something and it's not there, someone's going to come up with it and sell it. That's kind of the American way. So that certainly is going to happen. That should be encouraged as long as done in a safe and responsible fashion, because we need to think of the larger good of everyone, consumers and the industry. I think probably the second part of your question, the best way to make sure that's going to happen is have a better informed consumer. The consumer, there was a day when you squirt a lotion in their hand, if it smelled good and felt good, wow, I love this stuff, and they'll pay anything for it. But now the consumer is more informed and wants to know more. But there's a problem. The Internet of beauty is the wild, wild west, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. So you've got to spend some time really digging in and doing a little bit more research than simply reading marketing claims and looking at websites. You know, dig a little deeper. There's more information available to consumers than ever before. So get out there and do your research, and you're going to end up making far better choices.
Give us an example of one of those things that you've seen most recently on the Internet that has gotten sort of popular traction that's absolutely untrue. Oh my gosh, there are so many I wouldn't even know where to begin. There's always a new scare.
Just like in healthcare, there's a new disease of the month. Well, we got the same in our industry, a new one. There have been so many. People claiming UV nail lamps are dangerous. Well, now studies have shown no, they're not. So a lot of these things that come about just really people don't really pay attention to what they're reading. I got a really amazing one once where people all of a sudden started contacting me about this new date rape nail polish that had been invented, where you dip your finger into the alcohol and tell you whether it was a date rape drug in there or not. Wow, everyone's claiming how great this was and want to know where they bought it. Well, when I looked at the title, it said something like that, but as soon as I opened it and read it, the very first paragraph said this was a dream of some college kids who won a contest and were looking for money. No one even read the first paragraph. So don't go just by headlines. Don't go just by little snippets you read here and there. Really dig in and find out a little bit more. It's your face. It's your body. It's your hair. Spend some time. Find out more and make sure you're making a wise investments in your products.
And it's so true that people are skimming, so they're not reading the content. And what an interesting example. So let's go the other direction. What message would you provide brand owners about producing and advertising safe and effective cosmetics?
Well, I would say the same thing. Do your research. A lot of times people just want to go with the buzzwords and, what the catchy phrases are and what other people have done that seem to have worked. Treat your product differently. Go out and really research it and find out what's really unique about it, and talk to some people who have some expertise in the area and really find some unique points of difference. And if you don't have any, build some in. You shouldn't make a product that doesn't have one or two. So I think it's about finding something that doesn't just have a good marketing story, but really provides a good benefit for the consumer, and you can explain that benefit to them in a simple way. They're tired of hearing stories, and they want to start seeing some benefits.
And when we look at that list of those 10 ingredients that you want to avoid in product, are there any of those things on that list that you would recommend the consumer stay away from?
I would say that all of this is just noise. I could spend hours talking about this noise and when I say that, but I'll tell you, it's just all noise. Mm-hmm. And right now, I've heard both FDA and the Health Canada say this. They both said essentially the same thing. Of all the products they regulate, cosmetics are among the safest of all categories. I mean, they're safer than many children's toys. Bicycles. People get injured riding bicycles. So if you compare cosmetics to other consumer products, they're really, really safe. And all this noise is really just that. I would say ignore that. Get out and be informed. Don't be fearful. Don't just listen to the people who demonize ingredients, but really dig into it and find out a little bit more and find some trusted brands and listen to them and don't listen to all the gossip here on the internet.
Well, and I love that what you just said with regards to the fact that our industry being the beauty industry, at all levels has just an amazing track record. And when I say that, it's from the standpoint of being involved with a number of industry organizations that sell cosmetic product liability insurance. And the cost of that kind of insurance is extremely low. Why? Because cosmetic companies have such a great track record overall. And yet there are consumer groups and people out there that yell and scream about the fact that the industry isn't safe and needs to be more regulation and things like that. Do you think that is something that is important in order for our industry to be even better?
Well,
to increase the regulations?
I think the regulations need to be updated. Absolutely. I don't know anybody who says they shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. So, that's agreement on both sides. How to update them is really the question. Do you take a fear-based route where, this could happen, so we got to protect everything up to the roof like drugs? Or do we take a more logical approach based on what experts in general say? I believe we should be taking the expert approach and not the fear-based approach. And I think cosmetics are becoming safer all the time, and that will continue.
Right. All right, great. Well, we're going to take our final break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about Doug's newest book and why you're going to want to make sure that you try and pick up a copy. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
thing about beauty. It's pretty. At AmericanMadeBeauty.com, we're all about the pretty, making it easy for you to find what makes your beauty shine. We have essentially everything you need, and AmericanMadeBeauty.com celebrates brands that were created right here in the U.S. of A. Imagine everything you need from the best hair, skin, and nail products to makeup and even the tools, because it's all about pretty at AmericanMadeBeauty.com. We also think you're pretty important, so visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com. Browse, buy, learn. AmericanMadeBeauty.com.
When you're looking for bedding, department store prices can shock you. Well, be shocked no more. Sell steak cheap, not cheap state. That's the motto of Anna's Linens. Although they don't sell steak, they do sell the best bedding, bath, and home decor items. They strive to provide their merchandise at extreme value to their customers, and they do it. Great everyday prices on everything and military discounts. Plus, if you visit them online, they have clearance items and internet specials. Visit them online now at HealthyLife.net's advertiser page.
We're looking for a few good American beauty manufacturers who want to increase their brand in an exclusive credentialed category. If you're an American company who has conceived, designed, and bottled brands that are all about pretty, then we're pretty sure we're talking about you. And we're pretty sure you should be on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. This beauty website focuses on entrepreneurs and beauty startups as well as established brands. If it's pretty, we want to see it, and we want to sell it on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. To learn how you can be part of AmericanMadeBeauty.com, visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com now.
Oh, man, it never fails. My suitcase just got ripped apart.
Life is a journey. Make it a pleasant one. Use Samsonite. You know the name. For almost a century, Samsonite luggage has proved itself to be the worldwide leader in innovative travel solutions. Let it be yours. Visit HealthyLife.net's affiliate Samsonite on our homepage and click to look at the fine luggage from suitcases to golf travel bags. And don't forget, take a look at their travel accessories. Make life a journey, a pleasant one, with Samsonite.
HealthyLife.net, where positive overcomes negative.
Welcome. I'm Patty Smucker here at Radio AMB, and you're listening to our program on HealthyLife.net. Our program sponsor for this segment is Free Your Mane. That's spelled M-A-N-E. You can find Free Your Mane, which is a hair care brand for textured and dehydrated hair using baobab oil. Go to freeyourmane.com or find them at Anthropology stores. I'm here with Doug Schoon of Schoon Scientific, and we've been talking about the cosmetic industry, cosmetic claims, regulations, and Doug has just recently published a book. Doug, tell us a little bit about Face-to-Face with Doug Schoon.
Well, I've focused a lot on the beauty industry in general, but a lot with nail technicians and people working in nail salons, and, of course, just people generally interested in their nails. And I've written several books in the area, but they were more lecture and educational format, which, people don't like anymore. They don't like to be lectured to, and they don't like textbook-like formats. So I decided to try a different approach because education is just as important as ever been, but reaching people in a way that they want to be reached is so important. So I created a video series called Face-to-Face with Doug Schoon, which is really questions from nail technicians from all around the world. I figured, what do people want? Well, they want their questions answered. So I had people submit questions to me, and I get them all the time. And I use those to create a video series where I actually address questions from these nail professionals and from retail clients, usually 1 or 2 minute answers. And I've got several hundred of them on my Facebook, on my face-to-face-with-DougSchoon.com website. But so I decided, how can I make this more valuable? Well, not everybody likes to watch videos. Some do, some don't. So I've basically turned it into a book where people want to read. They can order a book and read these questions that I've gotten from the nail professionals from all around the world and my answers and replies to them. And if they get the ebook version and they have a subscription to my video series, well, they can pop from the ebook right in, see this video from the same question. Or you can just read the ebook as a standalone by yourself. So So really just trying to make the information so simple that anybody who wants it can get it easily, and there should be no shortage of information because we live in the information age now. So making it easy for people to get that information and utilize it, I think is going to be very important going forward. So that's why I wrote it, and that's what I'm trying to accomplish with it.
And so tell us about some of the most interesting, questions that came up through doing this video series and addressing questions.
Well, I get all kinds of questions. Many of them are based on things that people hear on the Internet. Is this true or is that true? And they want instant answers. And a lot of them are based on old myths. There's no shortage of myths about the nail. Why do you get white spots in your nail? Well, I've heard from eating too much mayonnaise, which I can tell you is not true. So there's a lot of myths and a lot of misinformation, and mostly people are just asking me they've heard this from someone and they want to know if it's true, or someone, they've always thought this was true, and so it's really kind of a clearinghouse of information to help people understand, by understanding each of these individual little questions that they have, that pretty soon they realize, well, I've accumulated a body of knowledge. Because now from between understanding all these individual questions, I can see how they all work together, and it makes people more knowledgeable about their profession and what they do, and they're not even thinking of it as learning. So it's been pretty successful, and just launched this first volume of this book last weekend, and hope to continue with additional volumes as I continue with the video series.
When you've been in this business for a long time, and you've seen products evolve, you've also seen needs evolve. As you are doing this education, are you seeing the needs that people have, the way they're taking care of themselves, changing?
No. And I say no because, man, people have always been interested in taking care of themselves. I remember my mother loved fiddling around with her nails. So, this isn't anything new either. So I don't think this is something new, but I think now there's better technology available and more that can be done, and it's easier to do. So that's kind of become a double-edged sword. More people can do things they could never do before, but they oftentimes will have less knowledge about what they're doing, and they need someone who can answer their questions for them. So that's the other reason why I just want to act as a resource to help people understand what they need to know to do a better job at whatever they choose as a profession. In this particular case, in the nail industry, where I tend to focus.
But in the category of nails, there have been some fairly significant changes with regards to the chemistry. Is there areas within the nail category where there's chemistry that people should be concerned about relative to their health?
I would say the answer to that is no, unless you're talking about adverse skin reactions. Adverse skin reactions tend to be the biggest problem that really occurs, or damage to your nails from improper filing or something, and you have your nails damaged. But there are really no greater long-term health effects that I'm certain aware of, and I've been studying this for many, many years. But you can develop allergic skin reactions, and that's pretty easy to avoid by avoiding prolonged and repeated contact of the products of the skin. They're not skin creams, and things that aren't skin creams should be kept off the skin. This is the kind of stuff I teach nail professionals, how to avoid skin contact. If you avoid that, you can avoid adverse skin reactions and allergies, which is probably, like I said, the biggest problem, other than proper sanitation and disinfection. That's been in the news a lot lately, and that's something the industry has really been making tremendous strides toward improving. And you're hearing in the news less and less because the industry is stepping up the plate and really taking that area more seriously as well. So I think as the industry matures and people are taking more interest in chemical safety and making sure we have sanitary conditions in salons, that consumers will be coming back and loving these services, and technicians will be more successful in what they do.
Well, and Doug, we're sort of summarizing, going back, because we've talked about a variety of different things, but the start of this was this whole thing that's happening with Zika and people turning to our industry for solutions, whether they be protecting one from bugs or taking care of their nails or things like that. Just sort of to summarize. Tell us again that the difference between a cosmetic and a drug as far as labeling. What does the consumer need to be looking for if they're trying to find a product that actually does do a functional thing like a sunscreen? They're going to see what on the label?
Well, you're going to see, and first thing you will see is an active ingredient and a percentage. That's the most important thing. If it's an OTC drug or a repellent or a drug itself, the government requires you to have an active ingredient called out on the label and a percentage name, and then everything else will be considered inert ingredients. That would be the minimum thing you should look for.
And if there's looking specifically for a bug repellent to help take care of them, there are some natural alternatives. Tell us again some of the ingredients that you discovered. You remember we said earlier in the show, EPA actually regulates bug repellent. It's not considered a cosmetic. It's not considered a drug. It's regulated by the EPA. And there are a number of natural ingredients that are considered safe. Tell us again that list, Doug.
Yeah, in fact, this is something you can actually get from the EPA website. I just looked this afternoon and saw an interesting list. Citronella oil, cedar oil, geranium oil, peppermint and peppermint oil, and soybean oil are the ones that are called out as minimum risk. So they're considered to be such low risk that they don't have to be registered as an insect repellent with the EPA.
And yet a consumer can use them, test them for themselves for effectiveness. I mean, obviously you can quickly tell whether or not it works or not, but there are some natural alternatives, and if you're going to use something that doesn't have natural ingredients, there actually should be an EPA unique registration number for each product.
Exactly.
Great, great. Well, Doug, thank you so much for being with us. And, again, tell us if somebody is interested in your book, how do they reach out to you and how do they get more information?
My website is face2face with DougSchoon.com. That's where you can find out about the book and the video series. And I actually have a website called DougSchoon.com as well, which will take you to a more general website where you can find free articles and videos that I posted there for people to check out.
Great. All right. Well, Doug, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for being with us, and thanks for all the great work that you do in our industry.
You're welcome. I had a great time. Thanks for inviting me, Patty.
You're welcome. That's a wrap for us today, but tune in next week when we meet Patricia Chambers, a mother and a grandmother who's the business force behind her children and grandchildren in the Yamaguchi lifestyle brands, which include 2 5-star spas in California and Hawaii, 3 product brands, and a business coaching company. Send your questions and comments to requests@AmericanMadeBeauty.com. I'm Patty Smucker. You can hear Radio AMB on HealthyLife.net. Thank you for listening to Radio AMB, where we think pretty is pretty important in all things in beauty.